doesn't give you a pass to not inquire of the Lord, to not trust God. Somebody in the house not doing you right, some family members not supportive, that doesn't change what God said. My family forgetting about me for that particular time doesn't change what God said. Just like Joseph's family forgetting about him didn't change what God said. You want to sit and muddle in, I can't believe this happened to me. Okay, now that you got that out the way, what you going to do? Does that give you an excuse not to live your dream? I was watching a video. I don't know when I taught it, but I was editing a video, so I was watching, and I'm talking, obviously, and I was listening to me talk about my past, and I remember, and the comment was made, like, because I remember this. Well, I was talking to a guy from my past this week, so I was reminded of it, and I remember thinking, I'm justified to trip because of all I've gone through. It makes it okay for me to trip. It makes it okay for me to be smoked out, high, do whatever I'm doing, because, hey, look at all I've gone through. And I said I had to realize at a certain point, it wasn't what people did to me, it was what I was doing to myself. So at a certain point, you can't blame, because you're reaping what you're sowing. You know what I'm saying? Now, on the front end, you may have got the hit from what they did. You probably didn't sow that seed. Maybe somebody in the family, because remember, visit the sins of your children's children. Maybe somebody else in the family sowed that seed, but you can still come out on top. Joseph sowed some hustling seeds, and his son dealt with the effects of it, but he still came out on top. Because the scripture says all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called in harmony according to his purpose. And so we have to make sure we keep our mind stayed on him, what he's planned for us. Isaiah 26:3. He'll keep them in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on him, which means that the adversary is going to try to take your imagination and pull it away from what God's trying to show you. And so you think about it, every time you make a move towards God and God shows you something, you see it, and you're at peace. Don't craziness start happening? All types of crazy. And you almost say to yourself, this doesn't fit with how I've been feeling. What is this? And so you almost use that as your justification to abort what God's showing you. You never take your eyes off of what God's showing you, regardless of what everybody else does. Because what God's showing you is not just for you, it's for how it's going to impact others' lives. People are counting on you. I did a teaching a long time ago, ages ago, I think sometimes in the 90s. But creation is counting on you. All creation is waiting for the manifestation of the sons of God. So there's somebody that starts their dream and starts their momentum when you get where you are. I have a friend that's a pilot. I told you about him before. But he started the inspiration to fly by getting on a plane, seeing a pilot. Pilot brought him in the cockpit. And from that day forward, he wanted to fly since 7. He's a pilot now. Flies are all over the world. That's like he's just going to vacation spots because as a pilot, what do? You get there. While they doing what they doing, you just seeing the sights. All you got to do is fly. You're flying yourself to vacation and you're getting paid a tremendous amount of money to do it. But how did that start? Suppose that pilot didn't step up and do what he was supposed to do. He would have never been inspired. Somebody's waiting on your inspiration. Amen. Somebody's waiting on you to show that I can go through all that and still be on top. Amen. So somebody's seeing you talking about God. Let me see you use God to handle this that's coming at you. Amen. Or you're going to turn and run because you don't think God's coming through for you. Everybody's watching. They're not watching to say you're a hypocrite. They're watching to see if it takes. Let me see if it takes. My friends, they sound like they was like, yeah, right, sure, Mr. Keith, living for God, please. But guess what? When I talked to them later and they started living for God, it was like, we just want to see if it takes. We couldn't believe it at first. But then we was like, okay, Let's just see if it really takes. Let's see in every situation and circumstance. Let's see how he's going to handle it. They watched me under pressure. They watched me when I was being treated unfair. They watched me when other people was trying to pass the weed. They watched that too. They watched when certain things didn't go my way. Let me see what you do. You talking Jesus, but let me see you use them. Is the battle the Lord's or is it yours? I want to see, you've been talking all this God. Let me just see. So they're not thinking it's going to be favorable circumstances around you. They're just seeing how you respond. Do you trust the God that you said you signed on to be with? Oh, you still doing you again. Yeah, you don't believe God. You another one of them. All talk. Don't let your picture change because the circumstances are screaming loud. Jesus is on the water in Matthew 14, I believe, 14:28, or Matthew 28:14, one of those two. But Jesus, I think it's 14. But Jesus comes out on the water because Jesus is talking to God, and God says, you need to go out on the water. Your boys out there panicking. So all the boats left. So Jesus walked out on the water. And he probably was in the presence of God. He probably wasn't like, how do I get there, God? He probably was like, oh, they're out there. He probably just started walking out on the water, not because he was thinking about the water. You know what I'm saying? It was with God. He just chicaning with God. So he gets out on the water, and they're afraid because imagine seeing somebody walking to you on the water in the boat, and there's storms going on as it is. Right? So they got afraid. He said, no, don't be afraid. It's me. So Peter's sweet. Peter was like, okay, if it is you, then bid me to come out there. Jesus said, come on out. Peter got out and walked on the water too. So he had a picture. When God spoke the word created a picture. It's what we're supposed to talk about today, but we'll get to it next week. God spoke the word, and it painted a picture. And that picture was him walking on water. Something that had never been done. Not by a human. So he walked out on the water, and the storms came to change his picture. He looked at the storms, took on that picture that was written over his original picture, and he started to sink. Jesus grabbed him. He said, what are you doing? Where is your faith? Your faith in the picture I gave you when I spoke the word to you. Why did you change the picture? Because the storms came. I didn't say come out on the water, but if the storms come, jump back in the boat. What I told you covered everything. Storms. If the boat broke up in a bunch of pieces, you still would have been on that water. If they start shooting cannons at you, all you had to do is keep walking on that water. Circumstances don't change what God says unless you allow them to. If you attach your faith to the circumstances, you remove your faith from the picture God gives you, that's when you start dealing with that stuff. Stand to your feet.